Hello, my name is Rick Houston, and welcome to the Scene Vault Podcast, your source for all things NASCAR history. Presented by QWare. Maintain excellence.
I don't know how he figured. I don't know why he did it, but he did. He just put Waltrip challenges fans to meet him at the Kmart, and of course that didn't go over good with anybody.
The day NASCAR and all of us associated in any way with NASCAR forget its past, that's the day we don't have any future.
In 1980, it was my last year to drive for DiGard, and I was so I can't tell you how excited and how humble I was that Junior Johnson wanted to hire me. And Cale and I were not the best of friends always. We were buddies, but we weren't friends. I'll never forget it, in 1980. And this is bad news. I just signed a 3-year extension with DiGard. I didn't really have any options. So that reminds me of what Kenny Schrader told Carl Edwards when Carl was going to go to drive for Roush. So Carl calls up Kenny and says, "Kenny, I just don't like this contract. It's all one way. It's all Jack, and I just don't know what to do." And Kenny said, he said, let me tell you what you need to do. Lay that contract down beside the other one you have. Well, I don't have another one, Carl said.
There you go.
So that's where I was. I didn't have any options. So I signed a 3-year deal to drive for DiGard for 3 more years. And then all of a sudden, here comes Cale, puts his arm around me, says, "I'm going to tell you something. Don't nobody know this but you, and I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm leaving Junior at the end of the year." I thought, are you kidding me? He just won 3 championships, the best car in the sport, and you're leaving him? Anyway, he told me he was leaving. He said, and guess what? Junior loves you, and he wants to hire you. So I'm just giving you a heads up. So, I'm thinking, this is the greatest day of my life. No, this is the worst day of my life. What am I going to do? I just signed a 3-year deal with DiGard. What am I going to do? So
well, Can you tell your side? Can you tell your side of the DiGard demands upon you to hold you to your contract and how you got out of it?
Well, it was amazing. So now that I know Junior Johnson wants to hire me, I got to figure out how to get out of this contract. Well, it was Bill Gardner again, a businessman, a smart guy. He wrote the contract. There was no way to get out of it. I was an unknown commodity. He couldn't put a price on my ability, blah, 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 blah. And so I take this contract, and I shopped it around to several different attorneys. I said, "Man, you're just screwed. You're not going anywhere." I said, "Dang, what am I going to do?" So a friend of mine, Dave Alexander, big attorney here in Franklin, was handling a big case that had a railroad explosion up the road there, Waverly or somewhere, and he was handling that case. And a friend of mine said, "Go see Mr. Dave. If he can't get you out of this contract, nobody can." So I go down to Mr. Dave's office. He's here in Franklin on the square. I walk in and we talk, and I show him a contract. He said, "Yeah, it's a pretty tough contract." He said, "But I ain't got I don't have time. I'm up to my neck in this lawsuit, and I don't have time." He said, "But my son-in-law, who just moved to town, you go work with him, and if he needs help, I'll be nearby, and maybe he can help." So his attorney's name was Ed Silva, and Ed and I have been friends ever since the day we met. So I go into Ed's working in a broom closet. Just out of law school. He hadn't had any big cases, and I have this contract, and he's looking at it, and he says, "I don't know how we're going to do it, but I'll get you out of this contract." And lo and behold, he figured out a way, and we got out of the contract, but it cost me $325,000. The reason it cost me $325,000 was it's $100,000 for each of the 3 years I just agreed to. So that was $300,000, and the $25,000 was just about enough to make me want to hurt somebody. We're in the office, $300,000 check, give to Gardner. Ricky Rudd's waiting out in the hallway, by the way. I give Gardner the check, and he said, whoa, wait a minute, you're a little short. I said, what do you mean a little short? Are you in the Bud shootout? Yeah, I'm in the Bud shootout. How did you get there? Got there in our car, right? Right. He said, paid $50,000 to win, and I want my half now. He said, because you'll probably win it, which I did. But that's how I ended up with $325,000. I walk out, and I'm free. I can go drive for Junior now. And Ricky Rudd's sitting out in the hallway. I walked out and I pat him on the back, and I said, good luck, brother. You are in for the ride of your life.
Darrell, the grass isn't always greener, but for you at Juniors, it most certainly was. 1981 and 82, you win 12 races each year and the championship. What was your relationship like with Junior those first couple of years?
Well, I was the enemy. When I went to drive for Junior, Junior loved me because, Junior liked somebody. He liked a winner. And I'd proven that I could win. And so Junior loved me. But Tim Brewer and that whole crowd, Harold Elliott and all those guys that were up there, I was the enemy. And so Junior had hired the enemy. And so when I go in, it's hostile. They're not that excited about me being there. Bill Allman, one of Junior's longtime employees, wouldn't even talk to me. And finally, I didn't know what I was going to do, but, we're getting ready to go to our first race. I think it was Riverside. And Brewer was there, and Brewer didn't like me. And it was a kind of uncomfortable. But I'll never forget, we went to Riverside. I won that race. And then we got ready for Daytona, and we were working on these. Remember, it's a year they downsized the cars, went from the big Monte Carlos to the little Buicks and all those. We had a Buick. And Brewer's working night and day building cars. And I'm in there with him. The one thing that you have to, anybody that's ever worked for me or worked with me, I don't ask them to do anything I won't do myself. And so if we're going to stay up all night and work on the car, I'm going to stay up all night and work on the car with you. I may not be able to do anything but go get some coffee and some donuts, but you're in, I'm in. And that kind of broke the ice. And the last guy was Bill Allman, and Bill was like an old guy, ground cylinder head, has been at Juniors for years. And he talked with, and he drank a lot of moonshine, really strong moonshine. And so Brewer,
in Wilkes County?
There were a lot of those people that reckon, I don't know for sure. Anyway, Brewer came to me one day and he said, things are going pretty good. He said, but if you want to, if you're going to make it around here, you're going to have to get Bill on your side. He said, because he kind of rules the roost. So you need to go in and talk to him. It's all right. So I had a cup of coffee in a styrofoam cup. And Bill's back in the motor room. I go in the motor room. He's back around on a set of heads. He looks around me and says, so you're the SOB that's going to take Cale's place, huh? I said, yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think we can do a lot of good, and I think we can win some races, and looking forward to working with all you guys, and blah, 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 trying to being a diplomat. He says, you ever drink any moonshine? No, can't say as I have. He said, let's have a shot. So he opens up his toolbox and pulls out a fruit jar. I don't know what it was. It looked like it was clear. And I dumped out my coffee, and I said, here, just dump it in this coffee cup in the styrofoam. And so he dumped some in the cup, and man, I smelled it. I said, whew, but knock your socks off. So I was just about ready to take me a little sip of it, and the bottom of my cup fell out. That's how strong it was. It ate that styrofoam cup up. Well, that actually turned out to be a good thing, because me and Bill both thought that was the funniest thing we'd ever seen. He laughed, I laughed, and he said, I'm going to give you your own trial. He said, we'll see how you do. And Bill and I became great friends. That was the thing about it. When I went up there, it was kind of hostile, but I wasn't there very long until everybody there was my best friend, and we all became buddies, and we really worked well together, and Floss and Junior, and I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. I'd never been in a place like that before. They would show me what they were doing to the motors or to the cars, and I'd say, well, no wonder I couldn't beat you. You guys just had a lot of things that we didn't have. Junior was in with Chevrolet, and they were getting stuff all the time, and it was just it was a playground really for me. I'd never been in a place like that, and I loved every minute of it.
Darrell, 1982, things kind of came to a head with the fans. when you're involved in an accident in the 600 at Charlotte, and they actually start cheering. And you basically you let it fly with Larry Woody in the Tennessean, the whole meet me in the Big K parking lot thing. How difficult was that situation for you to navigate?
Well, a couple of things happened. First thing happened is Junior called me in the office, and he said, "We got to get something straight." He said, "You drive, let me do the talking." He said, "Because apparently you can't. Every time you open your mouth, you end up with a lot of you got a couple. You got shoestrings hanging outside of your mouth.
Yeah.
We needed something about that." So that was the first thing, but that was so misinterpreted. Can you imagine Larry Woody misinterpreting something?
Oh, come on now.
On Friday night, I'd been at the Kmart signing autographs, and the line was around the building. I mean, there were people there. I couldn't even sign them all. And so that was why I made the reference to the Kmart. But it came out all wrong. I said, I just wish these people could have met me, or I wish they had been at the Kmart Friday night, and they would see a different side of me. But I don't know how Woody, I don't know how he figured, I don't know why he did it, but he did. He just put Waltrip challenges fans to meet him at the Kmart. And of course, that didn't go over good with anybody, sponsors, Junior, the whole nine, NASCAR. I didn't mean it to come out that way, and it didn't come out that way except when Larry Woody put it in the paper, it came out that way. Woody calls me. Oh, I love it. Woody would call me and say, Darrell, don't get mad at me, but I had to quote you today. I said, I haven't even talked to you. How can you quote me? He said, well, you'll be happy. He said, I think you'll be all right with what I said. You said what you told me. And he would do that. He would call me and say he had to quote me, even though he hadn't even talked to me.
Okay.
One of my best buddies.
Go ahead, Rick.
Darrell, 1983, you do have a championship battle with Bobby Allison. Actually, 81, 82, and 83.
Yeah.
And you two had definitely had your share of run-ins together.
Yeah.
What was it like to race him for those titles, knowing that there was that big a rivalry in play?
Yeah. Well, Bobby was my best friend. Bobby, when I drove here at Nashville, PB Crowell was friends with Bobby, and Bobby built PB's cars. And so the cars I drove were all built by Bobby Allison. And so I didn't know who Bobby Allison was. He was kind of an upstart himself at that time. This was in the late 60s, early 70s. He would come here in Nashville and race late model sportsman cars with us occasionally. And then I finally ended up going down to a shop in Hueytown, and Bobby and Judy, his wife at the time, and Stevie and we became great friends. Everything I know about a race car, I learned from Bobby Allison. I didn't know how to check a front end, set the caster, the camber, bump steer. I didn't know how to do any of that. Wedge, springs, shocks. I'd never been exposed to all those things. And Bobby in his shop, and Donnie was a lot of help too. But Bobby mostly showed me how to check the caster and the camber and use a front end gauge and a toe stick. And Bobby taught me a lot about the basics of a race car. And so we were great friends. And then we got in, and I think I feel this way, and I think probably most guys do. As long as you're not beating, or as long as I'm not having to compete against you, we're great friends. But as soon as I have to start dealing with you on a weekly basis, and you're trying to take bread off my table, I'm not so sure we're friends anymore. And that's kind of what happened to Bobby and I. One thing led to another. Little incident here, little incident there. I beat Bobby at Darlington in '77. Passed him coming to get the caution flag. He and Richard and David all wrecked, and I beat him back to the line. He didn't like that, and so I guess I just all of a sudden started rubbing Bobby the wrong way, and pretty soon, the first thing you know, we're not friends anymore. We're like enemies, and it was a shame because I love Bobby. I think some of the things that he's gone through in his life, it's been amazing that he's been able to deal with all the adversity and all the things that he's had to deal with. And he was, and I believe he's as good a friend now as he was when we started, but there were times when it just didn't work out well. I beat him for the championship 2 years. The third year, he beat me, and he went to drive for DiGard, and it just so many things happened. When he drove for Junior Johnson, and he could have won the championship for Junior with Junior if he hadn't made Junior mad. But Bobby always just had a tendency to whoever he drove for, the Stravolas. Bobby was kind of an independent guy, and he wanted to do things his way. And when he wasn't allowed to do things his way, he got unhappy and started blaming, everybody and their brother for the problems he was having. But anyway, he could have won the championship for Junior, but he made Junior mad, and Junior didn't go the last race, and it cost Bobby the championship. So Bobby Allison was one of the most talented, I think, overall. When you talk about knowing your cars, having done your own deal and done all the things Bobby's done, he's probably one of the most talented people that you would ever have competed against. But it just was a lot of times it was attitude. It just like everybody, he always came across as everybody was against him. I remember when he drove for Waddell, and Waddell and I were good friends. And Waddell said to Bobby, come on the radio and said, well, we're not going to win this race today because everybody's against us. And I just think that was probably the biggest downfall Bobby had, was thinking that everybody was working against him and not working for him.
Darrell, if for no other reason than to show that God has a sense of humor, officially you and Bobby are tied with 84 wins each.
I know. But
you ask Bobby, and he will insist that he has 85.
I know. I guess I don't know the circumstance. I mean, I've heard the story about how you won the race in a baby grand, or in a what they call those cars in Grand American.
Yeah.
He had a Mustang. Everybody else. I don't know what the whole story was, but he won that race. But he won it in a car that wasn't supposed to be in that race, and I never forget. And to this day, Bill France, I told Bill one time, I said, Bill, just give him credit for the win. He complains about it all the time. Just give it to him. I don't really care. It doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
And Bill put his arm around me like Bill could do, and then said, listen, you don't have to worry about that. He ain't never getting credit for that race. And so that's the way it's always been. And, how could two guys that started out great friends and then ended up being great competing against each other and not liking each other so much be tied with 84 wins? Seems kind of ironic to me. I'm sure. I think it's funny. I don't know if Bobby does. I think it's funny.
Darrell, as much success as you'd had those first couple of years, there was evidently a point where Junior, I remember talking to him at breakfast one day, and I actually asked him a couple of times, now, am I hearing you correctly? But there was evidently a point where Junior was going to cut you loose in order to hire Dale Earnhardt going into the 84 season.
Right.
Do you remember anything at all about that? What was the situation?
Yeah, I don't know. I know Junior liked Dale a lot, and I think Junior would have hired Dale. He had a lot of respect for Childress and what Childress had been able to put together and do. But Junior loved a driver like Dale. He didn't hold anything back. He drove it till it blew up, or he ran over somebody, or whatever. He was just that kind of driver, and Junior really liked that. And I wasn't that way. I always calculated all. I thought about the whole race, not just part of the race. How am I going to win this race? 500 laps, 500 miles, whatever it was. And so I learned the hard way that you can't wreck, you can't blow up, you can't have things happen to your car every week and survive. And so when I drove for PB Crowell, I drove for myself. Who I drove for? My first objective was to finish that race. And I knew I couldn't get in a pushing contest with somebody if I was going to win a race, because they'll wreck me or I'll wreck them, or we'll both wreck and neither one of us will win. So I always drove kind of calculating and using my mind and using my brain and trying to get the most out of my car without killing the car or without killing myself. And so that's the way I drove. Junior, at first, you know, you win 24 races in 2 years. He can't help but like you. I mean, what's there not to like?
Yeah.
But as time went by and the cars were not as good and other people caught up and it got harder and harder to win, Junior didn't like that. And, you know, Dale was a roughneck, and Junior liked roughnecks. And Dale would tell you right up front, hey, I run over you. You're in my way, I run over you. That's just the way Dale was, and Junior liked that. What really, I think, kept Junior from hiring Dale was when he wrecked me at at Richmond. I think they were real close to putting a deal together for Earnhardt to come and drive for Junior. But when Earnhardt wrecked me at Richmond, after the race and all the hoopla and everything had calmed down a little bit, Dale came over to Junior and told Junior he didn't do that on purpose, and it made Junior mad. And you make Junior mad. You know, Junior Johnson, one thing about it, you made him mad one time. You didn't get a second chance.
Yeah.
And so that made Dale made Junior mad, and Junior told him, said, boy, you get out of my face. I know what you did. You know what you did, and I don't want to hear it. And that was the end of that relationship. That was the end of Junior wanting to hire Dale. And what happened in '86, our cars were just not that good. We struggled in '85. We only won 3 races, but I was consistent, and I won the championship. I beat Bill. '86, the cars were they were slow. And Junior had convinced himself and most of the guys on the team that it was me, that I wasn't pushing the button, that I wasn't driving hard anymore, that I'd gotten hurt a few times, I was scared, blah, 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 blah. I'll never forget, we were at Wilkesboro, and I was racing Jeff Bodine, and I was trying to pass him. And I came on the radio, and I said, Hammond was a crew. I said, Hammond, go down there and tell that bunch of knuckleheads that if he doesn't get out of my way, I'm putting him in the fence. And Junior came on the radio, and he said, boy, you wouldn't put a piss hand in the fence. And, I mean, just like that.
Yeah.
And that 86 year was just that way the whole year. And of course, the good thing was for me, Rick Hendrick had taken up the reins at Chevrolet. He was getting a lot of help from Chevrolet, and Junior didn't like that. And Herb Fisher and Junior had fallen out, and Junior was having a lot of problems. Things weren't going well at the shop. And Warner Hodgson and 2 cars, and things just got all upside down and got to be a mess. Fortunately for me, Rick Hendrick wanted to hire me. I'll never forget. I went in. I told Junior I didn't want to leave. Even as bad as things could have been or might have been, I didn't want to leave. I loved it there. It was home, and I'd had so much success there. And Junior was in his office one day, and I walk in. He got my glasses on his nose like that. I said, Junior, I said, got a minute? What do you want, boy? I said, I got a call from Rick Hendrick. Well, Junior didn't like Rick Hendrick. I got a call from Rick Hendrick, and he said he had a deal that I might be interested in, and he wanted to hire me and said he'd pay me $500,000 in salary a year. And it got dead quiet. And I said, so what do you think? And he looked at me and he said, boy, you need to go take that deal. And that was the end of our relationship. That was in like May, June, maybe July.
Was it really that early?
Oh, yeah. And what was funny was I just was telling him. I'd gone to work there, and I'll never forget when I signed a contract with Junior, paid me 50% of what I won and a salary of $150,000. That was my salary. And so I never asked for a raise. Junior always said, I can't pay you a lot of money, but you're going to win a lot of money. So it's really up to you how much money you make. And so I thought, well, I've been here 6 years. About time I should maybe get a little raise. Anyway, I thought Junior would come back and say, I can't do that, but I can do this. But he didn't. I think it was Rick, and it was just the timing of everything, and it just didn't turn out well. And I'll never forget, this is before cell phones. So I walk out of his office and say, oh, crap. Man, I got to call Rick. I got to get him on the phone right away and tell him.
Junior, can I borrow your phone?
What about I take that deal? So, but nobody knows this conversation with Junior. So a couple of weeks go by, and I'm go up to the shop. We're getting a car ready to go somewhere. I don't remember where. And Hammond and all the boys are working on the car, and I'm going to get my seat fitted and all the pedals and everything. So I'm sitting in the car, and they all come around the car, the whole team. And they said, "Why didn't you tell us?"
Wow.
Why didn't I tell you what? Why didn't you tell us you were leaving? I said, "I'm leaving." Well, I didn't tell you because I didn't know it. Yeah, Junior said that you came in the other day and said that you were going to go to work for Rick Hendrick, and that this was your last year. And man, that floored me because I hadn't said anything. Nobody had said anything. Rick hadn't said anything because I told Rick I hadn't got things worked out yet, and I don't know for sure, but maybe I can do your deal. I'll let you know. So anyway, I heard something the other day, and I'll never know. Maybe somebody someday will tell me that the reason we went to the last race, next to last race, I think it was, at Atlanta, and we had a shot at winning a championship. We were racing Dale in '86, and somebody told me that knew Junior really, really well, that Junior went in the shop before we went to Atlanta and told the guys, "Do y'all really want him to win the championship when he's leaving here next year? You want to help him win the championship and he won't even be here?" And they all looked at Junior like, "What are you talking about?" And Junior said, "I'll tell you what we're going to do, boys. We're going to go up to the house up in the mountains. We're going to pick up sticks. And y'all let that car set." And I don't know if that's true or not. I never heard that before. It floored me because I never thought about Junior being that way. But I did hear that from some reliable source. And I've never really checked with anybody to see if it's true or not. I don't really know if I want to know if it's true or not. But that was kind of the way Junior was. I'll never forget. One of his best friends ticked him off. And I said, "Junior," went in one day, I said, "Junior, whatever happened to Ron?" "Ron who?" "Your buddy Ron. He was here." He said, "He died." "What? What happened?" "He died." "I don't know what happened to him. He ain't around. I haven't seen him. He died. He's gone." The guy hadn't died. He just died to Junior.
Wow.
And that's the way Junior kind of operated.